And then, suddenly, it was just above freezing and the roads were dry. My Goodsey Eldorado was closest to the garage door, so I wheeled it out, started it up and went for a short ride. It was wonderful. I only went about 25 miles because I didn't want to get too cold, and I was eager to get back to the garage to put some life into the Panther. I parked the Eldorado, wheeled the Panther into the daylight, and after following the normal cold weather starting procedure, got it running and idling nicely as I got ready to ride. Everything was looking good. The engine sounded healthy. There was fuel in the tank and oil in the sump. I swung a leg over and pulled in the clutch. Click. The lever slipped all the way to the handlebars with no resistance. The darn clutch cable was broken. Sadly, I parked the bikes, stripped off my gear, closed up the garage and went inside for a sulk. A few days later, I took a look to see what had happened. The cable had snapped cleanly right at the gearbox end nipple. Fortunately, the nipple had stayed in the clutch arm and hadn't dropped down into the mix of grease and oil at the bottom of the gearbox. A quick note to Walridge's British Bike Supply to order some universal cables, one to use, one as a spare, and we were back in business. The following day it snowed again, the temperature dropped and we were back to winter conditions. Oh well, I did manage to get out riding, if only for a few miles. It'll have to do. A few more days passed. I kept myself busy with daily walks in the woods, watching grim news from Ukraine, and finding and sealing a leak on my spare Panther tank. In the process, discovering that the whole rear end of the tank had been carefully and quite skillfully welded already. Obviously, the tiny leak I'd experienced was nothing compared to whatever had been happening before the rear was welded up. But playing with the tank was just a diversion, something to pass the time until I could ride. The new clutch cables arrived. Since it was still in perfect condition, I reused the outer cable, cut the inner to length, soldered on a brass nipple and squeezed the lever. Obligingly, the clutch plates opened smoothly, and my fears that my shoddy soldering would result in the nipple popping off were not realized. The thermometer registered plus 5 degrees Celsius. Excellent. Time to ride. A winter's worth of snow and foot traffic had compacted into a couple of inches of hard ice in front of the garage door. I had no desire to slip or drop the Panther into my parked car, so before doing anything else I spread sand across the slippery surface. Wheeling the bike out of the garage was surprisingly easy. When you're used to rolling 800 plus pounds of Suzuki Cavalcade around, the Panther feels like a bicycle. Would it start? Yes. Did the clutch work properly? Yes. Did it accelerate well and ride smoothly? Oh, yes. Okay, it's an exaggeration to say that it rode smoothly. It rode like a Panther, with the vibration, clunky gear changes, and juddering suspension that are part of the character of a bike designed when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. But it rolled along in a deeply satisfying way, shed no oil, and idled reliably whenever I had to stop. It always comes as a surprise to see how easily the Panther covers distance. In some little corner of my mind, I still think of it as a rolling traffic hazard. But the reality is, it's quite happy to hum along at, or slightly above the posted speed limit of 80 kph, or 50 miles an hour. And 100 kph is still well within its comfort zone. It still wasn't exactly warm, so my ride only lasted for less than an hour, but it was a delicious relief to feel the throb of the motor beneath my seat and the road passing beneath the wheels. Simple pleasures. Those not afflicted with motorcycle mania will not understand just how delicious it is to be riding again after a couple of months of enforced inactivity. I rolled the Panther back into the garage, stripped off my multiple layers, and plonked myself down in my comfy chair, well satisfied. It's still the tail end of winter, but the daytime temperatures are heading in the right direction. This was just a tiny part of a book I'm currently working on about my various Panthers over the years. In the meantime, all my other motorcycle books are available on Amazon in digital and paperback format, or on Audible and Amazon as audiobooks. Links are available through my website, and please subscribe.